speech by Mahatma Gandhi. Before I discuss to you the resolution, let me place before you one or two things. I want you to understand two things very clearly and to consider the same point of view from which I am placing before you. I ask you to consider it from my point of view because if you approve it, you will enjoy to carry out all I say. It will be a great responsibility. There are people who ask me whether I am the same man as I was in 1920 or whether there has been any change in me. You are right in asking that question. Let me, however, hasten to assure that I am the same Gandhi as I was in 1920. I have not changed in any fundamental respect. I attach the same importance to nonviolence as to this day. If at all, my emphasis on it has grown stronger. There is no real contradiction between the present resolution and my previous writing and utterances. Occasionally, the present do not occur in everybody's, but really in anybody's life. I want you to note and feel that there is nothing but purest ahimsa in all that I am saying and doing that. The draft of the working committee is based on ahimsa. The contemplated struggle similarly has its root in ahimsa. If therefore there is any among you who has lost faith in ahimsa or swearing of it, let him not vote for this resolution. Let me explain my position clearly. God has vouchsafed to me a priceless gift in the weapon of ahimsa. I and my ahimsa are on our trail today. Even the present crisis, when the earth is being scorched by the flames of ahimsa and crying for deliverance, I feel afflicted to the God-given talent. God will not forgive me, and I shall be judged unwrongly of the great gift. I must act now. I may not hesitate and merely look on when Russia and China are threatened. Ours is not a drive for power, but purely a non-violent fight for India's independence. In a violent struggle, a successful general has been often known to effect a military coup and to set up a dictatorship. But under the Congress scheme of things, essentially non-violent as it is, there can be no room for dictatorship. A non-violent soldier of freedom will covet nothing for himself, but only for the freedom of his country. The Congress is unconcerned as to who will rule. When freedom is attained, the power when it comes will belong to the people of India, and it will be for them to decide to whom it placed and trusted. Maybe the range will be placed in the hands of courts, for instance, as I would love to happen, or they may be handed to some others whose names are not heard in the Congress today. It will not be for you then to object, saying, this community is microscopic, that party did not play its part in the freedom struggle, how should it have all the power? Ever since its inception, the Congress has kept itself meticulously free of the communal pain. It has thought always in terms of the whole nation, and acted accordingly. I know how imperfect our ahimsa is, and how far away we are still from the ideal. But in ahimsa, there is no final failure or defeat. I have prayed, therefore, that if in spite of our shortcomings, the big things that happen, it will be because God wanted to help us by crowning with success our silence. I've been meeting Sadhana for the last 22 years. I believe that in the history of the world, there has not been a more genuinely democratic struggle for freedom than ours. I read Carly's French Revolution while I was in prison, and Pandit Jawaharlal has told me something about the Russian Revolution. But it is my conviction that inasmuch as the struggle were fought with the weapon of violence, they failed to realize democratic ideas in the democracy which I have envisaged, a democracy established by non-violence. There will be equal freedom for all. Everybody will be his own master. It is to join a struggle for democracy that I invite you today. Once you realize this, you will forget the differences between the Hindus and Muslims and think of yourself as Indian only engaged in common struggle for independence. Then there is the question of your attitude toward the British. I have noticed that there is hatred towards the British among the people. The people say they are disgusted with their behavior. The people make no distinction between British imperialism and the British people. To them, the two are one. This hatred will even make them welcome the Japanese. It is more dangerous. It means that they will exchange one slavery for another. We must get rid of this feeling. Our quarrel is not with the British people. We fight their imperialism. The proposal for the withdrawal of British power did not come out of anger. It came to enable India to play its due part at the present political juncture. It is not a happy position for a big country like India to be merely helping with money and material of things. Willy-nilly from her while the United Nations are we cannot evolve to the spirit of sacrifice and valor. So as long as we are not free, I know the British government will not be able to withhold freedom from us. When we have made enough self-sacrifice, we must therefore purge ourselves of hatred. Speaking for myself, I can say that I have never felt any regret. As a matter of fact, I feel myself to be greater friend of the British now than ever before. One reason is that they are today distressed. My very friendship therefore demands that I should try to save them from their mistakes. As I view the situation, they are on the brink of an abyss. It therefore becomes my duty to warn them of their danger, even though it may, for the time being, anger them to the point of the cutting off the friendly hand that is stretched out to help them. People may laugh, nevertheless, that is my place. At the time when I have to launch the biggest struggle of my life, I may not harbor hatred against anybody. Thank you.